All right, we are live, and welcome to Where's Your Next, the careers and recruiting
Hey, look, if I'm
vlogcast.
the guest, can you pump it up a bit? Make it sound like you're excited, okay? He
I
told
am
me he's
very excited.
excited to have me. Now he's
I am. Well, okay. So I've always loved Michael Kelemen. Oh, sorry, I totally screwed up. The
Yeah, you
recruiting,
did.
the recruiting animal. So let me talk about.
You know what?
It's
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm here. I came at the last minute. Yeah, it's not like I'm always way down the list on
well,
everybody's
you
preferred.
introduce
No,
you introduce yourself, man. Come on.
let me introduce it. I came at the last minute. I mean, I had a bad sleep last night. For the last 2 nights, I felt like a truck ran me over. Mike Rasmussen comes on my Facebook Messenger this morning and says, "Hey, can you come in? Can you come on the show at 11:45? Somebody can't come. The scheduled guest, Jim." Okay. I said, okay. So I am going to take the opportunity. I've been trying to pump myself up so I'm awake for the show. And I'm going to give you a tip. I started watching a YouTube influencer this week, and she said, "Look, forget about these long intros. Get right to the meat of the show. Don't make people bored. Grab them in the first 30 seconds. So don't do any intro of me. Save that for later. Okay?
Sounds
Let's
good.
go. Let's go. Okay? There's a tip. Tip,
Yeah.
everybody. When you do your own, don't say, oh, he's taught at this school, he's worked at these companies. Just get to the questions, get to the meat.
Okay.
Okay?
So
You learn
so
a
tell
lesson, Mike, for your next show?
You got it. You got it. Hey, tell me about how you got started with your recruiting animal podcast
Okay,
and
my
your
friend.
radio blog.
Okay, I don't. What's the point of talking about that, though? I will say one thing. His scheduled guest for today, Jim. Jim used to have. I can't remember his old show. This is in 2007. He invited me on at the last minute. He calls me up on a Sunday night and says, "Come on the show." I said, "Okay," but I was arguing too much, and so he refused to publish the show. A week later, I started my own show. Okay. There's nothing for you to learn in that. But here's the other thing. About 3 years ago, Jerry used to be my sidekick, and he's a talented performer, a very funny guy, and a big biller. But then he never wanted to go to video. But then Craig Fisher said, "Look, you got to come on my talent." What's his Talent Net Live
Talent Net
podcast?
Live. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because during COVID he had to do it on video. So I said, okay. So we went to video, and I've been on video ever since. And it's easier to run a show on video than just audio because you can see what the people are thinking from looking at them, and you can say, hey, well, you got something to say. So you know what? I said, let's get right to the meat. I don't think I'm getting to the meat, but it's easier to host a show on video, and that's, you don't have to believe me, but that's my experience after many years of doing it. It's a
So
lot easier.
so I've always been dying to ask you what
But
is
those
with.
two people, they influenced me, Jimmy and Craig. Go ahead.
So why the fur hat? What is that all about? I've always
Yeah,
wondered.
this is
Like,
how I dress here. Okay, I am Canadian. I'm Canadian.
is it
Didn't
because you're
anyone
cold?
ever? Wait a second. Yeah, but don't you? I guess you guys, or maybe you're not old enough to remember the Mackenzie brothers. The Great White North.
Oh
You
yeah.
guys,
Okay. Okay.
no, come
Okay.
on. They dressed like me.
Okay. Well, that's
Rush did the song. Wake up to the great.
so.
I'm not
The
interested in
recruiting
Rush.
animal. Tell me about how you. What is it that you like about being a solopreneur? Like, what is it about being a big biller?
Okay,
Um,
I'm going to change the question. Well, let's come back to that because he said I could bring up the topics that are of interest to me, and I've
sure.
been watching this sales guru Andy Elliott. He's kind of controversial. Are you familiar with him?
Sounds familiar. Go ahead. Tell me more.
Okay, well, he says that you gotta have a if you have a six pack, you're gonna make a lot more money. I have to tell you, I agree. It's great to work out and be in good shape. He'll have these sales trainings, big sales trainings, and he'll go up to people and say, "Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off." it's mostly men there, I guess, or all. Anyway, and so they have to take their shirt off, and he criticizes them. And he says, look, if you get into shape, you're going to make a lot more money. I think it's great to get into shape, but I don't think the discipline that you get from working out every day is transferable necessarily to your job. Okay, because they're just different skills that are required. Do you have a comment on that? If you're interested, I'm interested. I don't have a six pack, and I asked the big billers on the show, on my recruiting animal show, do you have a six pack? No, nobody's got a six pack, and they're making them. Some of them are
What
making $1
makes
million a year.
what
Okay,
what makes a successful big biller in recruiting, in your opinion,
okay, I'll tell you.
from your experience?
Okay, boldness. That's number one. In fact, I answered a question. You can take a look at the HR bartender. You're familiar with her, Charlene Lobby?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, well, HR bartender, she published an article every once in a while. I don't know why she calls on me. I don't know too much, okay? But she'll say, look, I'm asking this question and asking a few people, what do you think about it, right? So this one was, if you want to be an HR consultant, what's a tip? If someone wants to go into business as an HR consultant, what's the tip that you have for them? And mine was, business development is going to be key. Okay, you know what? The image is reversed here. So that's why I keep leaning one way or the other. Okay, the business development, you got to bring in the business. And to bring in business, you have to approach strangers and you have to be bold. Okay. And I've
Mhm.
written a booklet on fearlesscoldcalls.com. And it's
Okay.
usually, I've been writing it and rewriting it for years. It's usually the same content over and over again. But I find, and this is interesting to me, that the way I present, I'm always trying to present it better, because I think if you present something in a striking way, it has more of an emotional impact, and that's what counts. Intellectual impact, it doesn't. It's not going to influence your behavior. That's why a guy
Mhm.
like Andy Elliott, he's got ideas, but he's so passionate, and you know it, and so that's why these sales like Rich Rosen or Tom Pistachio Alacio, who come on my show all the time, they are great talkers. Donna Terrell, who was a teacher for many years, is now an internal recruiter.
Mhm.
She's way different from them, but she's a very good communicator, right? And I think this is the key. So if you're going to be a solopreneur, you have to be able to approach people
Mhm.
and talk to them. Ernie as well, Ernie Marino. Often Ernie says, "Don't be afraid of anybody." My friend Jason always said, "You know what? When I started out, am I talking too much?"
No, you're fine.
Okay, he said, "When I
I think
started
this
out,
is this is interesting. I want to hear this.
I was 22 years old or 23 years old, and Jason's $1 million biller." Okay, he said I used to call these directors or VPs, and I would feel so intimidated. They were my dad's age, right? He said, "What the way I solved it was." I never called anybody Mister. I never referred to their title. They were just Billy or Betty or Gene to me. I was Jason. They were on the same level. Okay, but I think that's more than that. I personally think that if you read about it, there people have different brain sensitivities. Some people's brains are more sensitive than others, and they're going to be more easily scared. Usually, it's associated with the amygdala. Amygdala means almond. Okay, there's two of them in your brain, and they're like smoke alarms. And so some smoke alarms are okay, and some of them are they'll go crazy every time you burn your toast. Okay, and so if you're one of those people, you have to struggle with calling up strangers and there's also alcohol. Just a little more. There's a part of your brain called the PFC, the prefrontal cortex. That's the thinking part. So the almonds take a quick look at the information that's coming in through your sensory organs, and it jumps to conclusions if something's dangerous. So it might see you're walking through the forest, you see a twisted twig, and you jump to the conclusion it's a snake, and you run away. But your PFC gets to take a longer look at the same information. If it realizes that the almonds are making a mistake, it tells them, cool down, there's no problem here. But sometimes if you've got oversensitive almonds and the connection between the PFC and the almonds isn't so great, you're out of control. Your smoke alarm is going crazy. For a person like that to be a solopreneur is going to be difficult. What you have to have, which I don't usually have because I'm a generalist, is you have to have good domain knowledge. You have to be a subject matter expert. So when you call up a stranger, and you want their business, you can talk the talk. I advise you. The Rich Rosen, I keep referring to him. He's $1 million biller. He says he did his first podcast
Hmm.
up. What's it called? Upscaling or something with Rich Rosen, and he's only had one guy. He had this client of his on it, and the thing is, I watched and he knew all the details of hiring uh, a rainmaker. I don't know what they call them, a foundational sales rep for a startup. Okay, he really can talk the talk. So you want to be able to do that. That'll balance off your fear. Okay, if you're going to business for lots of people for themselves, they don't want to do business development because when you're calling somebody to recruit them, you're saying, hey, I got a job for you for no cost. I'm going to set you up with a better job. It's not going to cost you a nickel. They don't respect you anyway, but at least you're calling them for, say, I'm giving away a freebie. If you're calling for business, just a sec, I'll finish my thought.
No, go
Calling for
ahead.
business, you say, I want 10 or 15 or $20,000 from you, and you don't know me, okay? So you got to have, you're going to be more scared, and having good domain knowledge is one way to balance off that fear. Sorry, go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just going to ask you. I think you bring up some really awesome points, and this is why it's fun to hear this side of you, because I know you often have a really fun kind of show that
Aren't I
goes.
fun today?
No, you're doing great.
This is the me. This is the same. I'm the same all the time. Go
No,
ahead.
you are. You're absolutely. But no, what I love about this conversation, and I wanted to ask you this question point blank. What was it in the beginning as a solopreneur? Um, there's a lot of recruiters out of work right now. What advice do you have for new recruiters that might be looking to enter as a
You
solopreneur and
know,
take on new clients? What would
we
you
beat
do?
the shit out of this guy once. He's been a guest on the Recruiting Animal Show off and on for many years. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and starting with audio, and we gave him a brutal interview one day. This is Mike Rasmussen. Everything's in reverse on this screen. Okay. Uh, anyway, if I point here, he's really over there. But he can take it. Oh, because we said, I remember telling him. I said, look, Mike. I said, if you had to, he was a corporate recruiter. If you had to go on your own, what would you do first, right? And he kept answering our questions, and we really respected him for that. So I think you're a good person to talk to about it. But if I haven't lost my train of thought, you wanted to know if someone's moving from corporate recruiting into solopreneuring, what should they do? Well, they work in their area of expertise.
Domain
I know
knowledge, right?
domain knowledge. Sometimes, people inside corporations, as I understand it, they have to work on all kinds of jobs, but lots of them are just working IT developers in a certain niche or whatever. So get a niche that you really know something about, and make a list of companies that are in that field, and look up the people on LinkedIn. I mean, this is so straightforward, and start calling them. Now, there's a big question that I wanted to address today, and I will. How many times do you call them? How many times do you email them? Right, like that. So
And
there's,
what's the frequency or what's the spacing?
yeah, I am not a bold person. Okay, that's that's something. I'm not bold, but Rich Rosen. Well, there's Tom Tuna rule. I've got 10 recruiting rules. Tom Tuna, great guy. His rule is call until one of you dies. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're recruiting somebody or doing business development. Call until one of you dies. Okay, and Gavin Johnston, it's Johnston. He's another good guy to follow on LinkedIn. He's a recruiting trainer, and he especially, he says, make your niche as small as possible. Interrupt me, Mike, if I'm not giving good information. I consider he's got a novel approach. Make your niche as small as possible, so small that you can actually think of establishing contact with everybody in the niche, whether it be on the company side or on the candidate side, and you become a known quantity to those people. Okay, he's working contract jobs mainly, though. It's not permanent placement, so it might be a bit different, a smaller group, and so that's domain knowledge. But what was the part that I was talking about? where,
Well,
where
you were
was
talking
I?
about
Oh, about
you were
how
talking about
often the call. Rich said, yeah, call. So there's call until one of you dies. But then David Stephen Patterson, he had an interesting posting just a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Don't be a leg humping recruiter. Okay, a leg humper is a dog. You go to visit your friends, and their dog starts trying to have sex with your leg, and you can't shake them, right? Well, these
Okay.
guys are leg humpers. Okay,
Hey, I'm
what?
gonna keep it family friendly.
Oh, well, okay, well, but that okay, cut that out. Okay, that's you can. There's good editors. I'll mention. I use now Clipchamp. It's free, and even better is CapCut. CapCut. Okay,
Yeah.
if the U.S. government bans TikTok, they own CapCut, so I don't know what'll happen to CapCut, but it's a free video editor, and it's very good. Okay, and Mike, if you don't use it, I'd be happy to
It's live
teach you.
stream.
What?
We're on live stream.
Does it allow? It allows you to edit the show?
It well maybe, but it's live stream. So anyway, just keep it clean.
Okay,
clean
so
clean
you know
language,
what?
clean
We're
everything.
gonna cut out that part, everybody, because I quoted somebody, who used a minor word. Okay, but anyway, there's the people who say pester somebody. I find if I call someone 5 times, they will get back to me to tell me to lay off. Okay, they're not friendly. But these other guys, they say if you call somebody 20 times and they get mad, he said they'll call him back tomorrow if they get a new job for them or if they have a reason to. David Perry says he called the guy 50 times about a job, and he caught him in his car finally on the Autobahn in Germany, and he placed that guy. Coming back to our
David
friend
Perry.
Gavin,
Hmm. Yep.
Gavin said, he all of a sudden heard that this company in his field, I'm surprised he didn't know they were hiring people, and one of his competitors placed 6 people there. So he found out who the hiring manager was, and he pestered that person. I can't remember how many. I think he said he called him 100 times, emailed, called him 100 times before he established contact, and then he placed a bunch of people with that company. So
Yeah. What you're
these guys,
basically
my final
saying.
point there, they don't care if someone gets mad at them. That's why you have to be bold. If you've
Yeah.
got smoke alarms in your brain that think you're going to on the verge of death when someone gets mad at you, you're going to have a hard time. Okay, that's true, and I experienced that
Well,
myself.
I think it's important to talk about persistence, um, in a sense that and we can flip this, for those recruiters out there who are looking for work. I think it's very important to talk about the challenges that they're facing. Some are too timid, like they don't pick up the phone. So what they're doing, a lot of recruiters, if you go to the LinkedIn feed right now and you look at any recruiting job, it might have over 1,000 people that have applied to it. Up and within a few hours, 200 people. Some of those postings are dummy postings. What we call, they're collecting resumes for an opening that might come open in the future. But a good portion of those postings are probably open. But here's the thing that's very important. What you're talking about is go to your niche, your domain knowledge, very important. Do that. Find if you've been in an industry and you know that backwards and forwards, go there. Next, call up the CEO, call up the person that David Perry gave me this analogy. Well, not really analogy, just an idea. He said, "Hey, call the local chamber of commerce, get a hold of that person, ask who's hiring, and say, who do you know that's coming up with hiring before a posting's even out there, and even in your own niche, in your own industry domain, make sure you're getting a hold of those key leaders in that industry and build a rapport with them. Because if you're known as the go-to recruiter in that industry, then you're going to be hired, right? So I think persistence, domain knowledge, and the boldness to actually pick up the phone and make a call and establish a relationship that adds value, very important, right? So I think those are all things that you're talking
Yeah,
about,
but
and I
when
like
you
that.
make a general statement like persistence, you notice, everybody, I didn't do that. I told you that these guys call people 100 times. Okay. What do you mean by persistence? If you want to get in touch with Betty Smith, okay, how many times are you going to phone her? How many voicemails are you going to leave her? How many emails, and over what time period? Do you have a statement on that?
I
Mr.
do.
Rasmussen?
I do actually. So I think, well, my opinion on this is that it should be, within a reasonable, you leave one voicemail, you follow up, probably within like a week. I think a week's a pretty good period of time, right? And then you don't want to do it every day. You want to have a little bit of spacing there to get them to respond. But I think that's a key factor is you want to be persistent. I once had a manager tell me be a persistent a, a what's the word she said? It's a be a persistent and pleasant pest. That's
Yeah,
the
isn't that an
language.
oxymoron? Pleasant pest. I mean,
Yeah,
how can you
it may be an
ingratiate with
oxymoron,
somebody?
but no, seriously, I think it's you be um you be so like you've done your homework, right? You remember we talked about this on your show a couple times where you've done your homework to know about that person's background well enough so that you can personalize the message. And let me ask you, what do you think about Chat GPT and using it for
I
personalization?
think I might be in trouble because I see people say, "Look, if you're not using these new AI tools every day, you're going to be a dinosaur." And I guess I am. I haven't really investigated them yet. I haven't fully done it. And one of my main questions is, can they really write good Boolean searches for you? Maybe you know. Have you tried?
Yeah, I've used Chat GPT for a lot of things. I mean, it does great things with Boolean. It can help you just, to create an initial message. A really interesting trick is to actually take your or a LinkedIn profile of the person that you want to reach out to, and then plug it into Chat GPT and ask it to help you personalize a little bit. Then what you do is you double check it to make sure it's what you want it to say. It gives you a template to work off of, and then you want to personalize a little bit further from there. But it it's good for, say, a rough draft. I wouldn't the thing I would advise is not to do um, Chat GPT and let it do all the work for you and then just stop. That's the problem. I think what people do is they'll use Chat GPT all the way and then it writes it for them and then they just send it. You need to check it first before you send it, right? It's good for the initial ideation and then you refine it. And that's the way to use it.
Ideation, Latin term. I think he's trying to be smart.
Ideation,
Okay, ideation.
ideation,
Okay, maybe that's
ide,
a tech term. Ideation.
ideation,
My
ideation.
mind glazes over when I hear ideation. What's the other
I'll
one? When you
simplify it for you. It's basically the initial creation.
Yes, I understand it from the context. Okay, give me a break, but I don't like it. And what's the other one I don't like? The one where you have lots of versions. The tech term everybody uses, and I'm just having a brain gap. What's it
That's
when
okay.
you what's it called when you rewrite something and but you're using a software term?
Hmm.
You don't know.
I don't remember. I'm
Okay.
having a blank.
Okay.
Anyway,
But here's the thing. Wait a second. Let me stop you on what you said because I'm trying to take it. Why shouldn't I take advice from you as well? First of all, I think I'm a pretty good writer, and so I don't think I've seen some of these AI generated messages. They're better than you'd expect, but they seem kind of bland to me. Secondly, I keep
sure.
referring to Rich because Rich claims to be making $1 million a year personally
Hmm.
on his own. Now he's got a virtual assistant in the Philippines or somewhere who does a lot of work for him. Okay, that's these big billers. They all tend to have virtual assistants. That's something to keep in mind. I've never used one. I'd be afraid to get involved with somebody I don't know. But anyway, that's one thing. But but Rich says he doesn't personalize. It takes too much time. These big billers, they don't waste lots of time on stuff, okay? Although I remember reading years ago an article by a charming young woman who worked in Yahoo as a recruiter, and she said, I thoroughly research somebody before I send an email. So it sounded like it took her about half an hour to send one email. A guy like Rich would never waste that much
I
time. In
think
fact,
see, the one thing that you're talking about, I think that's where Chat GPT can help. And that's it actually helps with the production. So let me kind of put it this way. It helps with the creation of the content for the messaging, but then you may have to refine it slightly. But the beauty of that is if you know how to use ChatGPT effectively in a way that you can personalize it, it becomes a very powerful tool that way. Now, again, many people can see through the weed, the trees, so to speak, if it's just an AI generated thing. So you have to be careful in that you can't just rely on it solely. You can't plug it in, okay, it's ready. You may have to take that message and just use it as a template and then fix it slightly, and then it's good to go. But it can help you personalize. It can. It has the ability to do that.
Okay, but see, there's another question there too. Are you going to? Hey, there's two sides to everything. Some people like to have long messages saying, "Oh, I know all about you. You did this, you did that, you did that," and other people say 3 lines tops.
Yeah.
There's
No, sure.
email experts saying 3 lines tops. Don't no one's going to read more than that. Okay, and here's something before I forget. I just read this guy Jesse Itzler, Itzler. We say Z here, okay, but I can say Z as well. I don't have a phobia about that. And he's got a lot of pep talks and shorts, YouTube shorts, and he says the most effective email subject line that he's ever used is the target, the person he's approaching, their company name slash his company name. I don't know why
That's
it
interesting.
produces. I don't know why it produces for him, but it doesn't seem bad to me. It doesn't seem
No, I
really
think that's
bad.
not a bad thing. I mean, and there's, I would definitely say refining your subject lines is a powerful approach because that's the first thing they see. Plus, the other piece is length that, a lot of people use mobile, obviously, right? So you want to make sure it's mobile friendly because that's another key factor. So again, the long or short of it, I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? I think your ideal message is going to be maybe like 300, 400 words tops if it goes that long. Emojis, ChatGPT can help with emojis. It's interesting if you say, please help me write a job description about X, it'll with emojis, it'll spit out.
If you put emojis in, though, there's such
Yeah,
strict rules now on your email. It might send it to spam. Am I right or
it very
wrong?
well could, absolutely, and it depends. Now, if you're using it on social, that's a different story. Like, so if you're putting out a job description on social and you just want a quick summary, it's good for that, and that helps. It actually gets. I've seen that get traffic. So the one question, I think we're coming up to the end here, but this was a fun conversation. I know we didn't have a lot of time, but I wanted to ask you, from a branding point of view, shorts, YouTube shorts. You found some value in that. Tell me more about
Okay, I haven't
what
found
that
any
value
value
is.
yet for my own business, but for the recruiting animal show, did I start talking? I don't know if I said it. He had me come to his green room 15 minutes early, so we did a show there before we got
We
started.
kind of had to
So
start.
I'm confusing the two of them already, but I like doing the recruiting animal show. I've been doing it for a long time, and I would do it if I knew nobody was going to watch it because I get to talk to people like Mike about how they do work, and Rich and Tom and Donna and Michael G. Cox. I haven't mentioned his name yet. Genius guy, very very good talker. Look him up. And Michael G. Cox does not send a million emails. Okay, so there's lots of views about everything. You don't have to do what some other person does. Okay, but you have to do something. Okay, so but with the YouTube videos, nobody watches them, no matter how good they are. I will take a look at the other recruiting shows. Nobody watches them, but YouTube Shorts, I've been posting them for the last 3 months. They get hundreds of views. If you're a YouTube influencer and you're looking to make money off YouTube, they don't pay you for those, okay? But they should be driving people to your main
Traffic to your
videos.
channel.
I find, yeah, but I'm still getting like 30 views on my recruiting animal show, the full hour show. That's something, but that's
Well,
not much.
another key piece that I think is interesting is how you can clip the video onto that. And someone could say something about recruiting branding as well. I think if you're working on a job order, Michael, and the job order, and you wanted to get some traction on it, do you ever use video to advertise
I
your
never
job?
have. Rich uses them. Rich uses them. I keep referring to him just because he's an example of a big biller who tries everything. Okay,
Yeah,
and Tom also. But Rich, he's funny. He says, "Remind me. I wanted to tell you about the best subject line. We don't probably don't have time today." But Rich says, "Look." I don't have time. I don't feel like spending a lot of time on something. So he'll get on. He'll post a job on YouTube just with him behind his desk. The lighting's terrible. Okay, he doesn't even light it up, and he gets a lot of responses. Now, people in his field know that he's an expert. Is that we're finished? Is that the alarm? Show's over. You'll
Not
have to
yet.
come back, and I'll
We
tell
got
you the good. I'll
we
tell you
got
a
a
good subject time next time we talk.
we got a minute, but I just wanted to say thanks for coming on. I know it was a kind of short order, but it was
We had
interesting
fun.
talk.
I had fun.
Yeah, and check out the Recruiting Animal Show. There's a lot of great content over there. It's really interesting content. It's got a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to talk me up.
No, I'm
Nobody's
serious,
interested in that stuff.
but
Okay.
there's definitely some good shows. What's your link?
recruitinganimalshow.com. What do you guess? It's easy.
Yeah. Well, good to have you, Recruiting Animal. What a lot of fun.
It's
And
the Ides of March, and nothing bad happens.
yeah.
Julie, don't go. I wonder if your viewers, if there are any, are quick enough to get that. I told them, Julie, don't go. That's a famous line in Canada, okay, from Wayne and Schuster. And on that happy note, thank you for having me.
We'll see you next time. And where's your next week? We have a great show
Everyone's
coming up.
sorry, you go ahead.
We have some good friends coming on. And I've got my new co-host Paul Bagan. It'll be a lot of fun. Until
Okay.
next time, though, we'll see you then.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Recruiting Animal, for joining us. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Take care, sir.